It's all about numbers. Damages to underground facilities are often discussed in the context of numbers. Number of damages, percentage of damages resulting from no locate request, costs for repairs and restoration of service, number of deaths and injuries. When it comes to your safety on the job, numbers can play an important part. What are the odds that you'll complete your next job without an incident if you call Mississippi 811 before you begin? What are the odds if you don't? These are numbers that will have a huge impact on you, your crew, and your company. You already know calling before you dig will dramatically increase the likelihood that you will go home safely at the end of the day. But you may not know there are other steps you can take to increase the odds of a safe and profitable day. The Common Ground Alliance has developed a series of best practices for excavators and utility owners. You will find some of these practices in the Mississippi Dig Law, while others are just plain common sense. To help us remember these best practices, the CGA organized them into 4 steps. Call before you dig, wait the required time, respect the marks, and dig with care. Everyone who routinely digs in Mississippi knows to call 811. However, not everyone fully understands why they should call, or that they should call every time they dig. Research from a Mississippi study, funded by Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, shows that most damages in the state occur because excavators try to shortcut the system by starting to work before the required time, by not properly exposing facilities, or not providing adequate location and contact information. Planning your work and providing useful information is the beginning of a safe excavation. The whole point of calling before you dig is to allow utility owners who may have lines in conflict with your work to protect those lines and help you have a safe excavation. If the information you provide is ambiguous or incomplete, the utility owner will have a difficult, if not impossible, task of protecting you and your business from a costly damage. When you call 811, the customer service representative at Mississippi 811 will ask you a series of questions, all designed for your safety. The more accurate the information you give, the safer your digging environment will be. Again, research conducted in Mississippi shows that safety is adversely affected when the dig site is not properly identified and the excavator cannot be reached to verify locate request information. But some excavators argue they don't get paid to use white paint, and pre-marking the dig site adds an extra trip, making the job too costly. However, many times excavators who don't routinely white stripe are delayed because the wrong area was marked, and in some cases they change the location of the work because they had not seen the area before arriving with their equipment. Making a second locate request and waiting 2 more working days then becomes much more costly than white paint. Another advantage of marking in white is the amount of time it saves a utility locator. White paint communicates to the locator exactly where you'll be digging. Now just imagine how much faster your next work area could be located if every excavator used white paint. Mississippi research also revealed that some utility damages were the direct result of excavators digging on someone else's ticket. When more than one contractor is working on a project, confusion and damages will happen when excavators see paint and assume that all utilities have been located. Digging using another's locate request makes you liable for damages. Everyone must have their own locate request before work begins. This regulation applies to subcontractors as well. So, always call before you dig, every time. Mark your work area with white paint or flags and give Mississippi 811 accurate information and a phone number where you can easily be reached should a locator have a question. Locate requests require a waiting period of 2 working days. This gives adequate time for utility owners to locate their facilities. If you start work before the 2 working days, you are responsible for any damages that may occur. Some excavators mistakenly believe that a short notice locate request will allow them to dig before the 2 working days are up. Contrary to some beliefs, Mississippi law has no provision for a short notice ticket. Again, if you start to work before the required waiting time, you will be violating the law and you will be responsible for damages and you will be risking your safety. The only exception to this part of the law is for an emergency locate request, which relieves excavators from receiving a penalty for not waiting the required time, but does not release them from liability for any damages they cause. However, an emergency excavation is defined by law as excavation at times of emergency involving danger to life, health, or property, or a customer service outage. Don't attempt to shortcut the system by twisting the definition of an emergency to cover a typical or routine excavation. If you do, you'll be creating a scenario for disaster. You must call 811 before you dig, and the waiting time is simply 2 working days. It's pretty remarkable that it's not longer, considering all that has to take place in those 2 days. Plan your work. Call 2 working days before you need to do the work, and give facility owners time to protect you and their lines. One thing to remember is an additional 2 working days may be required if utility owners cannot locate their facilities and must excavate to expose their lines. Damages are very likely to occur if you begin digging before all utilities have been located. The next step in Dig Safely is important throughout the duration of your project. This key step is respect the marks. How accurate are the locator's marks? The answer to this question is that it varies, and for a lot of reasons. Soil conditions, how crowded the underground utilities are, frequency and power settings of the locating device, and condition of the facility being located all impact the accuracy of the marks on the ground. This is part of the reason that Mississippi law defines a locate as an approximate location. The law also states that the marks must be accurate within 18 inches from the outside edge of each side of a facility. This sometimes is referred to as the tolerance or safety zone. If a gas main is 4 inches, the tolerance zone will be 18 inches on either side of the 4-inch main. What are your responsibilities in respecting the marks? First of all, when you arrive at the job site and you notice that marks are missing for a utility that you know to be in the area, you are required to call Mississippi 811 and inform them. Secondly, respect the marks by protecting them. Marks can be easily destroyed, which will make it impossible for you to determine the locations of underground facilities. You should maintain the integrity of the locate marks for all excavations. By respecting and protecting the marks throughout the duration of your project, you are helping to ensure your safety as well as that of your crews and the environment. Locate requests are good for 10 working days from the proposed start date you provided to Mississippi 811. Should your work take longer, you need to call and renew your request at least 2 working days before the 10 working days are up. This way, your work will not be interrupted. Also, if construction activities or weather destroys the marks, you must call Mississippi 811 and renew the request. These simple paint marks are important safety communications from the owner of the facility to you. Respect the marks. Protect the marks. After all facilities in conflict with the dig site have been identified, the next step in the Dig Safely best practices is to dig with care. When it comes to hydraulics, backhoe buckets, and congested right-of-ways, digging with care seems too obvious to mention. But once again, research shows that many damages occur not from mismarked lines, but from digging on top of accurately marked facilities. The practice of taking a little off the top is not part of properly exposing a marked facility. Always expose a marked facility by hand digging or vacuum excavation or other methods approved by the facility owner. Trenchless technology has given excavators the ability to work with minimal surface disruption, a real plus for contractors working in high-traffic urban areas. But horizontal drilling also presents some challenges to the excavator. Crossing an existing utility line requires knowing not only its route but also its depth. The only conclusive way to determine the depth is by exposing the line. Hand digging in congested work areas can be time-consuming and expensive, but technology has provided a safe, valuable, and approved method for exposing existing facilities. Vacuum excavation or potholing has become a damage prevention partner with horizontal drilling. By far, its greatest benefit is safety and infrastructure damage prevention. Every day, there's another horror story about a backhoe hitting a pipeline, regardless of the fact that dig laws require either hand digging or vacuum excavation when digging within the tolerance zone. Another consideration for digging with care is working near overhead lines. While they are not underground, they are dangerous. Sometimes are overlooked because of the attention directed to the work below. Be aware of all utility lines, those in the ground and those in the air. Call before you dig. Wait the required time. Respect the marks and dig with care. Your role as an excavator is no longer just about getting the work done on time. It's about effectively communicating to utility owners and locators the scope of the intended work, understanding possible conflicts with existing facilities, and having a greater respect for those that may be affected by your work, including the general public. Damage prevention is a shared responsibility, and no single stakeholder can accomplish the goal of keeping Mississippi a safer place to live and work by itself. It takes a partnership built on trust and respect, careful consideration of the role each of us has in preventing damages. Think safety. Plan your work. Dig safely. You're more than just a number in Mississippi's damage prevention program.